Welcome to the Juniper podcast, where we chat with the most fascinating people in the pet space and dive into ways to keep our pets happy, healthy, and enriched. If you're a little obsessed with your pets like we are, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to the first episode of season 2 of the Juniper podcast. I'm super excited to be back here with Haley, and we have so much to catch up on. You're going to be hearing this when we come back from our winter break, but let's catch up on a little bit of what's happened since we finished and wrapped up season 1. Haley, can you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to and your travels and your life as Scout?
We spent the fall in Utah being desert creatures and kind of living the quote-unquote dream van life out there. Utah is a notoriously easy place to do van life, and they're not kidding about that. I think it's like 70+% public land. So Scout got to run around, we got to spread out, do a bunch of off-leash hiking, and that was so much fun. We really charged up. And then we quickly drove to Wisconsin, where both my parents and my in-laws live. And then we spent like 3 weeks visiting family and friends. And so many people we love all live in the state of Wisconsin. So it's always like this chaos visit. And having the van really makes that easier for Scout because she's an introvert, kind of like how I'm an introvert, and she's getting older. So she gets to spend a lot of time being cozy in her van while the rest of us are like in the thick of the chaos. Like I have a 2.5-year-old niece and our friends have pets and all of that. So we needed the recharge time from Utah before that. And then after all of that social time, we made another quick drive down to Florida, where Sean has some in-person work things down here. This is the area where we used to live. So now all of a sudden I went from like 15 degrees to I think it's 78 right now. And as one can tell by my hair, if you are watching this on a clip or the YouTube of the podcast, it is also like 97% humidity.
Oh my gosh, I'm jealous because it's starting to get really cold up here. It's nice that Scout has a little like place to go that, you know, she's always familiar with, even when you have all these new things going on. It feels like maybe the van is like your constant for her, right?
It is. It's a huge help. Sean talks about how the van feels like his backpack. That's the analogy that he uses. Like it's that source of comfort when you're in an unfamiliar library, or I guess the fact that we are not that far out of college is very obvious with that metaphor. But I think that's kind of how it is for her. It's like her comfort zone. And same for me too. I feel really comfy in the van. It's nice to be able to carry this space with us and impose a little less when we ask people to host us, because all I really need is a place to park it and I can have all my own resources. So that helps a ton and helps a lot with work, right? Like I've been really leaning into some different writing pursuits and pitching some freelance pieces. I'm so excited about what is coming for the Juniper magazine and leaning into that editorial side. And having my own space to retreat to when we're visiting friends and family, where I can work in this environment that is so familiar to me and like I can control the stimuli around me, really helps with the focused writing projects. So all in all, it's a huge win-win. I will never move out of this van. Sean thinks we will eventually, but we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
I'm going to ask how long you were planning on doing this for. I was like, is this like another fun 6 months to a year? Or could this be like your lifestyle for a long time?
Honestly, super TBD. When we moved in, we said at least 1 year to get a good feel for it, and then like just for the foreseeable future. So I'm not sure. We've tossed around the idea of a couple of short-term leases here and there, maybe like to get a better feel for some of the places that we've really loved when visiting and actually have a stationary home base, but that's super up in the air. I know we won't live in the van forever. Like there's definitely an era of our lives that comes after this, but it's not in sight right now.
Oh, it's so fun to think about. No, I love that you're doing it, and I love living vicariously through you and your photos and everything too. And the best is when you're in the van and you just like you're looking out of your window and it's some amazing, beautiful national park or something. For those who don't already follow Haley's Instagram, I'm sure we have it linked in the show notes, but you should check that out too. Oh, that's so good to hear your update. And what else has been going on since we finished season 1? I feel like we've done a lot in a short amount of time.
I feel like we have, yeah. You need to take it away on the Juniper updates because that is also exciting. By the time this podcast airs, there will be a redesigned website.
Yeah. So season 1, and I almost feel like V1 of Juniper was sort of like launching the site, getting it out there. and growing our readership and listenership on the podcast. Basically, like we're coming out of nowhere with this new pet website. How are we going to build up an audience? But we've been growing our audience really fast. Like that's the thing that's working really, really well. And then in the background, we kind of started working with pet brands. They were all coming in organically, just being like, oh, we see that you write. We see that you have active Instagram. Like, can you do some of this for us? So we started kind of just naturally creating content for pet brands. And that's when I was like, okay, we do need some business to fund our editorial side of Juniper forever so that we can remain like sustainable, keep it going. So we're going to be launching our new website, which is really just highlighting for readership that all of the editorial content's in one place, and that's juniperpet.co, same website you've been going to before. But we're going to be launching our new, which should be out by the time this comes out, our agency page, which is for pet brands to come on board, write into us, and then we can talk about creating some content for them. So a lot of the brands we've worked with so far have done things like articles, and we've made videos for them. And the really fun thing is that like it's the same team of like you and I and a couple of our other teammates. We all make both the magazine editorial side of Juniper, and we're all going to, in various degrees, be working for our clients as well. So it'll be fun to take on more client work this year. So I'm super excited about that. And I've been busy with Addie at the same time too. My dog Addie, for those of you who don't know, she's about 2 years old now. And we just finished up our first agility class, which was super fun. It was wild. Like I was so afraid to take her to a class that I emailed them beforehand because she's so high energy that I was like, are they going to be on a leash or like like her recall isn't great. Like, what are we going to do if she just starts running around this class? They were like, oh, don't worry. A lot of it actually starts on the leash. But of course, the absolute minute that we were ready to go do something where we unleashed her, and I knew this was going to happen because she was being so good as she could on the leash, trying to like follow through the weave pole and do all her little things. But the minute we had to start running through the tunnels is when they were like, this is the part where we drop the leash. I knew she was just going to take that opportunity to do a full zoomies around the agility class. And it felt like it went on for, it was probably only 60 seconds, but it felt like it went on for 10 minutes. She was just full zoomies, like over capacity, running around, having the time of her life and taking it on upon herself to just walk on the A-frame, jump through a hoop, do a little, like she was, just making up her own like jazz version of agility at this point. So it was really funny. None of the other dogs were doing that, but we got it back together, got her back on. And then the next time I had to take her leash off, I was really scared. I was like, oh, is she going to be able to do this? But she actually got really good at agility. She's super fast and she will do anything for a piece of cheese. So she was getting up on the A-frame. Like she didn't hesitate from anything. So it was so much fun. And I would come back with so many stories for Ben and just be like, oh, it was such a fun day. We did all of this. So I was surprised at how much fun I had with it. And then I also feel like I saw her grow a lot from doing this class. So anyway, I said I wouldn't talk about it too much because I was like, we'll do a whole episode on classes, but super fun. Highly recommend if you don't already take your dog to some kind of class, and you can find even like an hour a week to do it. It doesn't have to be that they're going to be like an Olympic level dog. It's just super fun to do. And it helps them a lot. So that was really fun. I learned a lot from that. And then my cat, since we're also cats and dogs now here at Juniper, for those of you who don't know, I have a 13-year-old cat. So he's really a senior now. He was diagnosed with this heart problem that they think is congenital. And we ended up getting like 4 or 5 different medications for him. And I was like, okay, this is like not great. We have to, but now we're on a roll. Like he's on all these meds. And ever since he started them, he started kind of running around like a kitten again. And I was like, he seems like he's 3 or 4 years old. So just a reminder that cats can really surprise you. They're super resilient. The 9 lives thing is actually like really true, I think. And so we're just trying to, like, I'll give him all the meds in the world if he's comfortable and tolerating them well, And so that's something we went through that we were dealing with and I learned a lot about. So another goal for Juniper is just bring more cat content in this year. So if you're listening as a cat parent, not dog parent, we'll have more of that for you as we grow out this year too. But yeah, so it's been super fun. I guess that's sort of my update as we head into the new year. When people listening to this will already be in 2025, but we're getting ready for it over here.
Oh, yeah. So much going on. So many exciting things. I'm always struck by the fact that in your household, you have Addie, who is like this classic young, like just reaching full physical maturity, blue heeler mix, so energetic. And then Nico, who is this senior, and not only do you have the dualities of those two species, but also the age that they're at and in the life stage that they're at. I feel like that gives you really good perspective about kind of just all things pet parenting.
Yeah, and I think it's smart. I think for the rest of my life, I will continue to just stagger on pets as like one pet gets older. I want like another one coming in, and so that we always just have like a couple of pets. I mean, obviously, if I could have like 20 of each, I would. But in the realistic world of like, what do we actually want to live with? How many can we actually take care of with all the other things we have going on in life? Yeah, I think that that's my move for the rest of my life is just sort of stagger, newer, younger pets as my other pets are getting older. So I always have a couple of them.
Yeah, probably my biggest regret of the van is that I can't have a cat right now. I keep telling Sean that we need a van cat. Sometimes we'll stay at a winery or a brewery that like has a resident shop cat. And I really, really miss cats. But Scout would kill me if I made her live with a cat in a small space. Sean would kill me if I made him live with a cat in a small space. So like this is, future. When we do finally move out of the van, at least I have things to look forward to, even though I'm sure that I will be sad about it too.
And I would say definitely like introducing a dog to a cat and vice versa. Having the house was so great for that because we did it in such a tiered way. So we literally had like when Addie was a puppy, she was just in one little crated off area of one room. And then Nico had free reign of the whole house. And then slowly as she grew and we could trust her more with certain things and like potty training, she got access to more rooms slowly. Like it literally probably took almost 9 to maybe even more than that months before they were just free roaming in the house together. Because then at some point they would be free roaming, but when I would leave, I would still put one of them away. Usually Addie, because she was still a puppy at that point, and then let Nico free roam. And that way he didn't feel like his house was being taken over too. So it was really gradual. And then it wasn't until I was like, okay, I fully know that they have their own patterns and they know how to avoid each other. And Nico has plenty of like escape routes and things he can go up that's higher than her if he doesn't want to be chased. And then we were simultaneously training her, like, don't chase the cat, stay, let him walk by. And that's something I'm super proud of is that like she's just incredibly trained to let him like walk by, even to the point where if she's playing like a really rough and tough game with us where she's growling and like we're doing tug, Nico gets really scared of that and he would come running in the room, try to like protect us. So we would say, oh no, Nico's coming. And she'll completely drop the toy, stop growling, and immediately just show him that it's okay. So she is like so well in tune for that. I think part of it is her, but part of it is the training we did. So now they can do like almost anything together. If she's on a full on Zoomy after a very long walk, that's the only time where he might get like, whoa, what is that dog doing? Get it out of my way, which is reasonable because she's moving really fast and acting wild. But yeah, other than that, it's been really great.
Yeah, I'm sensing another idea for future podcast episode,
Another
future blog,
episode,
future guide, something.
People are listening to this and they have ideas for things they want us to talk about. These are our mini episodes now, so we can answer your questions. We can get in a lot more stuff than we did when we only had guest episodes. So please email those over to us. The email is going to be in the show notes. If you want us to talk about something, answer questions for you or anything like that, we'll be happy to do it on these types of episodes.
Absolutely. Keep it all coming.
Yeah.
Is it time for rapid fire? I'm excited about this rapid fire segment.
Okay, rapid fire. We made a little list of things that Haley and I are texting each other about, which is whenever we want to nerd out about something in the pet space. And so I'm going to ask the first one is, okay, we had our little updates for ourselves, but then we have a list of things that we've just found like interesting that have popped up. So one of the things that we were talking about is for those of you who have either kids or nieces or nephews that are of the age where they watch the show Bluey. For those who don't know, this is actually like a really great show. And it's not just our opinion that it's a great show. It's also got like really great reviews. It's been studied by people who tell you like this is an okay show to show your kids as far as like the level of stimulation and all of that stuff. It's a good learning show, but it's also really cute because Bluey is a dog and Bluey is a blue heeler and it's part of the family of healers. And Haley and I were laughing about this because we both have blue heeler mixes and we were laughing about how that dog is like not really a great family dog in particular. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on like Bluey, real life Bluey versus the Bluey that you see on the screen?
Oh yeah, I'm so torn on it. Like I really enjoy Bluey. Even my mother-in-law says that Bluey is a show that if her kids were little still, she would allow them to watch, which is huge for her. Like Sean had very strict media consumption guidelines growing up as a kid. I feel like that's such high praise, and I've watched some episodes with my niece, and it's a really adorable show. And like I love the representation of healers because I have a healer. It's really fun when someone does recognize that she's a blue healer, she's an Australian cattle dog. And like, I think that could be an exciting moment of connection. It also is kind of funny that one of the dogs who is notorious for being difficult to have around, especially young children, like herding breeds in general, and then especially healers, they're called healers because it's deeply ingrained in their genetics. We bred them to nip at the heels of cattle as part of their herding process. I was actually bitten by a herding dog mix when I was a kid, just because the dog was trying to herd me and there wasn't appropriate intervention from the adults in the situation. So yeah, just like torn on it. Like it's so cute when someone respectfully recognizes Scout. Like just the other day we pulled up at a stoplight and Scout wasn't in her travel crate. She should have been, but she was in the passenger seat next to me at the stoplight. And there's this kid in the passenger seat next to his dad out of the window. And the kid rolls down the window and is so excited that there was a Bluey dog next to him. And it was just this like really lovely, pure moment. I got to laugh and smile, and the kid was laughing and smiling, and like just really sweet, right? I do worry sometimes though, like once in a while, a kid will see Scout and like start yelling like Bluey and start sort of coming up to us quickly. And in those moments, I'm really thankful that we've trained Scout the way that we have, and like that we've just developed a habit of being vigilant in the environment. I know it's all good intentions, but you know, like any dog interacting with any kid should be very closely supervised. Permission should be asked first, and especially with the herding breeds and healers in particular, that tendency to nip. So yeah, it does feel ironic to me. It's like such a lovely kids show. This is not necessarily the dog that you recommend to live with the age demographic of kids watching the show.
Absolutely. I mean, like it's really funny because like I do follow like an Australian cattle dog blue heeler rescue group just so I can like fantasize about if I would get another one. But the descriptions, because I would love to like rescue if possible. But the descriptions are all like, shouldn't be in a home with young kids. And I know it's the nipping. It's not like serious biting or serious aggression, like most likely. I mean, obviously, every dog is individual. But most of these, I think what they're saying is like, we can't guarantee that this dog will not see your child as sheep to herd, you know? So yeah, it's funny. And I think we don't see much of the herding behavior around my nieces when they're over playing with Addie, but she will like 100% chase them when they're engaging her to chase, you know? And so she'll just play with them endlessly and has endless energy for them. So in that way, I think they're good for kids, but you would have to know this particular dog so well. And so like, and Addie's a big mix too. So that's only part of what she is. And she is not super recognizable healer cattle dog unless you really know cattle dogs.
Yeah.
Like Addie mostly looks black and like you wouldn't really know what she is. People guess the funniest things of what she might be. And only one person ever guessed cattle dog. So I don't think she's recognized. She does not get recognized as like Bluey from the cartoon, but
Okay.
super funny. I'm sure you get that all the time.
I'm instituting a new rapid fire that we have to add to this episode. What is the most hilarious thing that someone has mistaken Addie for?
Somebody once asked me if she was a puppy Belgian Malinois, and I was like, ooh, that's
really?
A cool one. Because like she has like a little bit of the look that might be. So we got that once, and I was like, no, but those are really cool dogs. That's an interesting, like, I guess she could be a puppy version of that. She has almost like 4 equal breeds. So, and the other ones nobody ever gets. So she's part husky. Nobody ever sees that because she's like small, compact.
Yeah.
Sometimes when her ears are back, people can tell that she's part staffy. They're like staffy, pit bull, a little bit of that in there. Or if they know rescue dogs, they just know that it's like likely that that's part of her mix. But she does look like them a little bit when her ears are back, you know? And the funny thing about that is that she's trying to look super friendly. So she puts her ears back to look, because her ears are big, straight, and pointy. She puts them back to look really friendly, and she looks a lot more like a pit bull. And a lot of people are like, whoa, is that a pit bull? Even though most of them are super sweet, a lot of people don't know that. And so, you know, people know so little about dogs, as we always talk about. So that's super funny, but almost nobody gets any. And then the other part is lab, which nobody really gets either. Like people just people just come up with all sorts of breeds that you know, have nothing to do with what her mix is. What about you? I'm sure Scout is like kind of recognizable as a healer.
You would think. We do get a lot of people who are like, oh, blue healer, I used to have a cattle dog, that kind of thing. And that, again, that can be a fun connection, especially because someone who really does have experience with the breed, usually those are the people who are also like being really respectful of her space and like understanding that cattle dogs, part of the breed standard is being wary of strangers. So I love those interactions. But sometimes we just get wild things. At one of my first apartments with her, I was asked if she was a Dalmatian German Shepherd mix, because she's got like the pointy ears, I guess, and like she has the speckles. So that was funny. Once I got short-haired sheepdog, which is not actually a dog breed, but you know, not totally wrong. She's a cattle dog. I guess like we're somewhat close. And like Catahoula cattle dog, which again, it's Catahoula leopard dog. So like maybe that was just a bit of confusion. She doesn't really look very Catahoula to me anyway, but probably my favorite was when someone just walked up to us and they were like, is that one of them Merle Corgi things? And I was like, no.
Merle, like the blue look, I could kind of, but definitely not like Corgi. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, so that's a constant source of laughter between Sean and I.
Have you joined Juniper yet? Our free guides, articles, and newsletters are packed with tips to keep your pets happy, healthy, and enriched. Sign up today at juniperpet.co.
You have to tell me about the diversity and pet photo shoot that you did.
Oh, yeah. I'm so excited about this. So when we first started working on Juniper, just literally like getting photos, putting the branding together, putting the first website together, and working with you too, when we would pull photos from, you know, like stock photo websites of people with their pets, I was always like, okay, but everybody in these photos is white. Like there's almost like it's been really hard to find pictures of people that aren't white people with a dog or a cat. And then we did a couple of our like podcast episodes where we learned a lot about like racism in the pet space and how to be an anti-racist in the pet space and be supportive. We'll link back to a few of those episodes. And it's just was so surprising to me how much this was needed. And I think like even just representation is needed, right? Like obviously we need to change a lot more than just photos, but being able to show people of color with photos, I think is with pets in photos is really important. And then as we started working with pet brands, I was noticing all their photos had white people with pets, you know? So when we're looking at what we want to show off, we want to show off different people and different types of pets, you know, including different types of dogs and cats and stuff like that too. So we decided to make our own photo shoot. So for those of you who listened to season 1, you'll remember Ebony from Atlanta Dog Mom Club, who's also working on Juniper. And we did a sort of like collab with Atlanta Dog Mom Club where we came in and brought a photographer, and these photos came out amazing. They're so, so good. So it was just like a one-day photo shoot. We asked a bunch of members of her community to bring in their dogs. They were nice enough to do that. And we got like so many awesome photos. So what we're doing with them now is giving them out to our clients. So like no matter what like level of plan our clients are coming on, we kind of just want to get these photos out there. So any client of Juniper's can use these in all of their marketing, in their ads or on their website images to try to like get more images of, you know, different people out there with different dogs. And like I said, the images themselves are just really high quality and really beautiful. And they're going to be all over our website too. So you'll get a sense of them. So super excited to get these out there and just try to, make a little dent in this. When we were looking through the stock photos that existed, you know, they were just not what we needed. So just one little project we did that I'm super excited to get out, and we'll start seeing them more out in the wild in 2025. That should be pretty fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to incorporate them into more guides and the photos on the Juniper magazine part of the website, because I've loved all of the podcast episodes we've done, but the one that we did with Cassidy and the one that we did with Ebony both have a really special place in my heart, and things that I should have realized way earlier being in the pet space that I didn't. And it's really fun to be part of, like you said, just like a tiny thing to try to start moving this representation in the right direction.
Yeah, and just like always learning and always moving forward. I feel like every day I learn something new about the pet space. You know, I came from like working on Tech Ladies, and we worked in the diversity and hiring space and in technology, which is a really male dominated field. And coming into pets, I was like, oh, this will be fun. I'll get to do something like totally different. But then I just saw a lot of the same issues being perpetuated in the pet space that I saw in tech. And I'm like, oh, I can't help myself. Like, we got to speak up about some of this. So I think that'll be part of Juniper's mission is blending that in to sort of like everything we do. And so, yeah, I'm super excited to get that out there. And also to like, help people learn more by having different people on our podcast and not hearing from all the same types of people over and over again and stuff like that. So yeah, anyone that you think would be interesting for us to talk to, you can always shoot us an email or DM or something. We always want to hear, like, who do you want to hear on the podcast as well? And so, yeah, super fun, super excited to have that. Okay, rapid fire. We're working on our ability to do rapid fire, which means we go faster. I could talk about things as like whole episodes, but other thing I wanted to ask you about was, this is sort of like along this trend of like luxury stuff for pets, which I have mixed feelings about because I've really spoiled pets in every way. But I'm seeing a lot of like things, including really high-end brands trying to get into the pet space. And so I think who was it? Dolce & Gabbana? I actually don't have the brand in here, but one of the fancy brands came out with perfume for dogs. And I was kind of like, no, because it was really expensive. And like, I don't know how you feel about this, but I even struggle a little bit with like anything scented on Addie, because I'm like, when she gets her grooming or when I wash her with something, I'm like, oh, it's kind of nice when she smells a little bit good. But like, I try to think about how that might be for her. How do you feel about perfume for dogs?
First gut reaction, I really don't like the idea. I don't know what this perfume's composition is or what scent it's trying to emulate. I do know that humans and dogs have very different olfactory systems and often different scents that we find engaging, interesting, pleasant to be around. So there are a lot of common human scents that, researchers have shown dogs don't really enjoy being near. I remember reading Inside of a Dog by Alexandra Horowitz, and she's written several, like maybe 5 books about life with dogs, speaking broadly. And one of them is specifically about dogs and their sense of smell. I think it's called Being a Dog, Becoming a Dog. We can pop it in the show notes when we find the appropriate title. Anyway, the whole book is about the dog's sense of smell and how it made her think more critically about her own sense of smell. And she says that one of the insights she got from her research of a small way to make her pets' lives better is to let them go longer smelling like a dog. Even though we humans often find that like dog smell, we joke about things smelling like wet dog, like that can be the comfortable, natural, default, pleasant experience for our pets. So yeah, my gut reaction is kind of like, why are we doing this? Is this another way that we're sort of commodifying dogs, trying to make them fit into modern human society? On the other hand, like I do get it. Like we share tight spaces with our dogs. We find scents unpleasant the same way that our dogs find certain scents unpleasant. So like, there's some compromise to be had. So kind of TBD for me, depending on exactly what that scent is. But I sort of just like resent the idea that a dog should not be a dog anymore. And I'm not trying to say that this specific company meant that with this product, but I just think it's indicative of a larger trend that like we keep making dogs more and more like people. And I'm the first to talk about times when anthropomorphizing is actually beneficial. I'm like not one of those across the board, all anthropomorphism, which is ascribing human traits to non-human beings. Like, I don't think that's always bad, but I think it can be a dangerous, slippery slope. And like, Scout wants to go on a hike and roll in mud and then smell like gross things. And does that bring me joy? No. But it might bring her some joy, and so I'll try to like meet her in the middle, I guess.
Yes, and perfume itself to me is just like a strong scent that would linger. And I think I forgot, is it 5,000 times ours or 10,000 times ours?
The figure is like constantly debated. Like we know it's astronomically larger, but the last I read, there wasn't even an exact number. Like some sources say 10,000 and some say 100,000. That's a factor of 10 difference. So I don't even think we fully understand.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, they're bomb sniffing dogs, all sorts of scent work you can do with dogs. So we know it's way, way advanced beyond us. So that's why even if I'm wearing my own perfume, I'm like, ooh, if she's about to jump all over me, I don't even want her to smell too much of that on me. So I think we do need to think about like what scents there are around candles, things in our house, all of that. I've kind of cut back a lot of that just for safety around her, but I do like to have her groomed, but we
Yeah.
don't do any of this extra scented stuff on grooming. But I also have a dog who is constantly rolling in dirt. I mean,
Oh
we're in
yeah.
dirt all the time. And so yeah, like you said, it's a balance of like what do you want in your home versus like the dog getting this, smell. But I would say we put like weeks and weeks and weeks between grooming appointments. They're not happening like every 2 weeks or whatever, unless she gets into something really crazy and I hose her down. But yeah, no, I agree. I think people need to think about that a little bit more. And there's plenty of ways to spoil your dog. And I think part of our mission at Juniper is like, yes, we'll tell you about products that will help you spoil your dog that we think are good. But a lot of spoiling your dog in reality is just like understanding them better and taking them to do things and spending time with them. And so we're going to always be like giving you ideas around that and how to think through the pressure that's coming down to buy all this stuff versus like what your pet actually needs. I think as we see the industry grow more, that guidance is going to be needed even more. So Haley and I are going to give that to you. We'll help you with figure it out as we go. Oh, this is kind of related, I guess. So the other thing on our rapid fire topic was pet activity trackers. I'd be interested to know what you think about these, and then I can give you my take on them too.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I've never used one. I've just never felt a personal need for one, especially living in the van. I feel like Scout is with us constantly and we naturally keep pretty good tabs on her activity. But also she's getting older. She might be approaching 9-ish. We don't know for sure. I hate saying that out loud. She's not allowed to age, but she's definitely aging. But I think they're really cool. Like I know so many people who absolutely love theirs. And there's this I think it's a fun trend where like someone will go on an off-leash hike where their dog is allowed to be off-leash. And usually dogs will cover more ground than we do that way because they're like running around and sniffing. And I love seeing people's comparisons at the end of the hike where they're like, look, I did 5 miles and my dog did 11. And it really just puts into perspective the level of activity and fulfillment that different activities can provide. So like, I think that aspect of it is really super cool. And you use one, right?
Yeah. So, well, side note, I was going to say, I don't know if you want to know Scout's age, but one of our clients is Embark and they just sent us the Embark age test. So it is possible to find out age. If you want to try one, I can send one over to you. But I don't know are you like, I don't want to know because maybe she's older than we think, or like, I do want to know. Like, I can imagine that's got its own set of kind of consideration.
Ooh, okay. I'm torn on this and I will absolutely get back to you. I mean, I love Embark. We did the breed DNA test for her years ago when I first adopted her. But yeah, I've got to sit with my emotional reaction to that for a bit and I will.
What if she's older than you thought? Then it would be hard. Yeah. Like, so
Yeah.
we did it for Addie. It was really accurate and cool to see. We weren't like super shocked. We basically knew like how old she was, but it was interesting to see that a test could pick that up now. But I thought when you said that, I thought, that's kind of interesting. Like, but I could see reasons you would or wouldn't want to know. I remember when the famous Miss Peaches, this Miss Peaches dog that got adopted by the guy who runs Barstool or something, who I didn't know who he was before. And I only know of now because of Miss Peaches. And I love her. I think they must have done one on her because they found out that she was actually surprisingly younger than they thought. Or maybe they found a relative or something and figured out that that's how they knew that she was younger. And so it was like, that's the good news, I guess, when you have an adopted dog. It's kind of fun to know if they're younger. Maybe Scout's 3 years younger than you thought. And it's great news. But we'll see. But yeah, it's complicated. But yeah, so the pet activity tracker, we use the Fi collar. And that started because I was just immediately like, I need to track her from the moment she was a puppy in case she ever got lost. Like I was looking for one that was like, it will help you find a lost dog in case they ever got lost. You could just flip it on. So it's not full, from the way I understand it, it's not full like GPS all day, every day. It updates by pinging, I think it's like satellites that are nearby. So the like location isn't being real time updated, but if they get lost, then you hit a button on the app and then it does become more of a real time location tracker. So it's pretty cool because just like knowing that we have that is a nice peace of mind. she's not wearing her collar all the time. We don't wear the collar inside, so it's not like a foolproof thing. But for a dog that has very little recall, she 100% understands recall, but will not do it if anything else more interesting is around. So we're going to keep working on that, especially when we get into spring here. Like, we're going to always be working on that. But it's not a solid, perfect recall that I can count on and let her go explore around or any. It's nothing like that. Like, she has to be in our sight at this point. So the collar gives me like a lot of peace of mind for that. I really like it. Like, and then the activity stuff is just sort of like a cool bonus. The app is like really well designed. The step count is pretty cool, like just seeing how far she went. Yeah, it's kind of cool to see that. I would say it's primarily for me, the reason was for safety. And then the activity stuff is just a bonus. But that it can be kind of useful to see, like, if she had a quiet day, I know she's going to be really active the next day and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you ever think about, like, if she's sore? Like, I feel like this was an insight for me earlier in training with Scout of I had just sort of naively never considered that, like, dogs can have so many of the same ailments that we can have, right? Like, I had how many times do we ever consider that our dog might have a headache, right? But, like, how often do humans get headaches, So I'm intrigued by the activity trackers in terms of, like if Addie has a super active day, does that ever prompt you to adjust activity later days that week? Or, I mean, she's so young and so in shape that it probably is less of a concern at this age, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of merit to that.
I would say at this age and stage for us, it would probably be more that I would know, like, that we don't have to do as much or go as hard the next day. Because we still are at the, like, we're not in the puppy version of needing to tire her out the way we used to when she was a full puppy. But there still is definitely an element of, like, if we don't go on that second walk or it isn't long enough, or then we don't go and have like a physical play session, which has to happen a couple of times a day with her. That's the level that she's at right now. The days where I'm too busy and can't do it, and then she didn't have a play date that day, she will be losing her mind at 5, 6 p.m. inside the house. And if it's pouring rain or freezing, like, we planned improperly, and she'll be not having fun. She's uncomfortable. She has energy to get out, So I kind of just, like, learned to look for that a little bit more. But it is useful, especially if more than one person is with your dog. So I can see, like, when my husband takes her on a really long, epic walk, and then I get a little update about how long that walk was, and then she's tired later, I'm less likely to be like, I have to go then take her out again. Because I'm like, well, that was a pretty long walk, And so for those of you who are listening who don't have high energy dogs, you're going to be like, what is this person talking about? Like, my dog just needs to go outside to pee and come back. But if you have a high energy breed or mixed breed dog that, like, some part of them is this high energy. Basically, if any part of your dog is a cattle dog, you will probably know what I'm talking about. And they're somewhat young, you probably know what I'm talking about. So activity tracker, don't really need it. You know where she is. She has good recall now. She's trained to be in all these new places. It sounds like you have a kind of good situation going on.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that I thought I might be interested in getting for her once we moved into the van. And then now that we've actually lived in the van for almost 2 years, I was just kind of like, oh, actually, the status quo is, like, really nice and we don't need to mess with it too much. And, like, a tracker like that was one of those things. I totally see the merit for them. Like, a bunch of my adventurous friends love them for their dogs, but Scout is literally never out of sight unless she's in the van. Sometimes we leave her alone in the van, which also has a good security system and is temperature controlled and monitored. So, like, the tracker's not on her, but everything is being tracked. And when it is legal for her to be off leash, like, she will not go out of sight. She has the strong, like, keeping tabs on her people combination of her individual personality and experiences and the training that we've done. So yeah, it's just, like, never something that I've thought of putting money into. But also, as you know, like, I live in less than 70 square feet and I'm a super minimalist. I'm a minimalist to, like, an annoying degree. There are things that would improve my life that I don't get just out of some, like, weird attachment to that principle. So, like, me not having an activity tracker, there's a good chance that that says more about me and just the way that I've, like, chosen to structure material belongings than whether or not it would actually be useful, because I know they have great uses.
I think we can bring, like, a nice balance for people, because I'm a minimalist in the sense of, like, I'm more of a curator because I lived in a small New York City apartment for the majority of my life. I had to be like that too. And so I was really good at like curating, like really just, do we need this? And the minute I'm not using it, it gets donated or sold. But now I have a house and I'm running a pet company and people send us stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like really big on like the pet stuff. I feel like in the past like year since starting Juniper and Change, because we were working on Juniper a little bit before that, I want to say I've tried like almost every thing that's out there. Although people are still sending us stuff and like we meet new brands and clients all the time. It's super fun. But I think it's a good mix because like I'm super open and can bring stuff in. And then you're super minimalist. So we can help guide people also on like, what do you actually need and what type of dog or cat do you have and what do they really need, you know, especially because we're going to see this industry just absolutely like continue to grow in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to keep growing. And so I think for all of us sitting there, like we're going to be tempted to buy stuff, but then you don't want to put stuff in a landfill. What's the stuff that you actually want or need or would be helpful for you? I think that's something that we can keep writing and talking about on the podcast. So yeah, I think that's part of our mission and vision too.
Absolutely. I'm sensing another like future podcast, future blog, future guide, like every time I talk to you, I get like 7 new content ideas for Juniper. Which is really exciting.
Out to people too. So like, okay, if you're not a member of Juniper yet, sign up. You're going to get a weekly newsletter from us. You can hit reply to that newsletter and you're talking to us. We're reading those. So if you hit reply to that with what you want to hear on the podcast, what you want us to write about for Juniper, or what you're struggling with your pets, we would love to hear it. So please sign up for that. It's juniperpet.co. Everything's in the show notes. And yeah, I think that's it for us today. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, really excited for season 2.
Yay. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you all soon. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Juniper podcast. Don't forget to sign up at juniperpet.co for guides, articles, and newsletters that make pet parenting easier. And if you're a pet brand looking for creative content that connects, drop us a line at juniperpet.co. We'll see you next time.